On this episode, I'm reacting to this article titled Snapchat Harming Children on an Industrial Scale, says author. Here we go. John Hyatt, who wrote The Anxious Generation, accuses the messaging app of promoting addictive use and exposing young people to dangerous content. A best-selling author has accused Snapchat of harming children on an industrial scale and called for changes to the popular messaging app. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see what else he's got going on. John Hyatt, whose book The Anxious Generation has been on bestseller charts for a year, analyzed 600 American lawsuits against Snap, which owns the app, with his colleague Zach Roche. In a post on Hyatt's Substack, they detailed evidence from the legal case that they believed showed that Snapchat promotes addictive use and exposed young people to drugs, guns, child sex abuse material, sextortion, grooming, and cyberbullying. I mean, I hear about this like anecdotally from my clients. Like I have one client that was told that if he did not do something that a man from a different, state or whatever told him to do, that he had video of him and that he would like put it out there to the whole world and it causes all of this trauma and stuff. And then he had to come see me and it was this whole thing. And grooming, and yeah, they're exposed. Like, here's the thing. You don't know what they're going to be exposed to on Snapchat. And because Snapchat allows you to delete the messages and delete the whatever else, like parents are going to be at a disadvantage for keeping control of it. So yeah, I can see this. Hyatt, a social psychology professor at New York University's Stern School of Business, claimed in The Anxious Generation that smartphones had a negative impact on child mental health. Yeah, I mean, as soon as smartphones started, we just see like anxiety scores and depression scores just like increase exponentially. According to Ofcom, 74% of teenagers in the UK use Snapchat. In the post entitled Snapchat is Harming Children at an Industrial Scale, Hyatt and Roche said that company insiders were aware of multiple widespread and serious harms and in many cases did not act promptly or make substantial changes. This is not surprising. In Johan Hari's Stolen Focus, he talks in, I think it was Indistractable by Nye Far, whatever his name is. They talk about how a lot of these companies know the detrimental effects that these have on our youth or just on people in general, like our focus, our depression, our anxiety, and they don't care because at the end of the day, they are a business. And that's one thing that I think we all need to keep in mind. At the end of the day, they are a business and their bottom line is money. Your bottom line as parents needs to be the well-being of yourself and your children. And so you need to figure out what are your parenting values and make decisions that are aligned with those. If you don't want your children to be isolated or isolate themselves in their room and be on their phones and all of the time, well then don't give them a smartphone until what Dr. Hyatt suggests, which is you don't give smartphones until 14 years of age. They quoted from a 2017 internal Snapchat email about the streaks. Oh my goodness. The streaks. Let's see what else they have to say. Feature that encourages users to message every day. It said, wow, we should add more addicting features like this. All right, so let me tell you guys a story. I was working with a client the other day and they were telling me about how they had to go onto this camp for 3 days or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then later on they mentioned how they were worried about like they couldn't get off of social media because like their streaks. Oh, because they were having issues with their best friend. And I was like, okay, well, just don't message them, don't like Snapchat them. And I was like, oh wait, do we care about the streaks or do we not care about the streaks? And the client was like, we care about the streaks. And I was like, but wait, you just were at camp where you couldn't have your phone for 3 days. And she looks at me and goes, Dr. Mata, I gave my phone, I gave my password information to my best friend so that she could go in and make sure all of my streaks stayed up to date. This generation can't struggles to plan things or make decisions, but when it comes to streaks, they can plan, they can do all the things in order to make that happen, which shows us that they have the ability, they just need the motivation. They need to see why they should be doing these things other than, rewards based. That's another reason why gentle parenting doesn't work, because they want to get rid of rewards and they want to get rid of punishments, which is so stupid. But the thing is, this generation is all about rewards. They will work for rewards. They'll work for a streak because they can't lose their 355-day streak. When I was a professor and I required my students, when we talked about addiction chapters or in abnormal psych, I asked, or I encouraged, there was an assignment that they were supposed to stay off all social media for a week. And they were like, but our streaks, that was literally the first thing. The streaks, they care so much about the streaks, but what is a streak? Oh, goodness. The message was part of a lawsuit filed by the New Mexico Attorney General against Snap. Snap has sought to dismiss the New Mexico lawsuit, saying that it claims there are gross misrepresentations, and the company has expanded its trust and safety teams to tackle child sex abuse material. I'll believe that when I see it. In relation to sextortion, where users who have sent compromising images are blackmailed. Yes, this is happening more often. There's a video that I talk about, like online predators. We need to protect our children from online predators, and I give you practical tips. Check that video out. One Snap employee said, "God, I am so pissed that we're overrun by this sextortion shit right now. We've twiddled our thumbs and wrung our hands all effing year." Yeah. Because people don't want to realize that it exists. But I'm telling you, it exists. We don't want our children blackmailed. Do you want your teen blackmailed? Well, then keep them off of these social media apps where you don't monitor them on a consistent basis. Does nothing. Sextortion does nothing for our children's mental health. Not a damn thing. Hyde and Rush said that in their meetings with Snap, the company did not deny claims that it receives 10,000 reports of sextortion every month. Please let me pause for a second. 10,000 reports of sextortion every month. If you don't believe me when I tell you that it's happening all of the time, please know 10,000 reports. Do that math. I'm not doing that math right now, but 10,000 reports every month. A 2022 email from a Snap trust and safety staffer said of sextortion, "I think our teams understand this is a huge problem. Curious if exec is aware just how massive and impactful the scale of the issue is. Worth noting that 10K monthly reports likely represent a small fraction of this abuse, as this is an embarrassing issue that is not easy to categorize in reporting." They're saying that it's underreported. 10,000 reports a month is underreported, which means it's happening much more often and people are not reporting it because it's embarrassing. And I get why. Snap recently introduced measures to clamp down on sextortion, but campaigners have urged it to go further. In 2019, Snap's communications director complained internally that although the company was pushing back fiercely on the claim that illegal content was particularly bad on Snapchat, from what we can see, drug dealing, both buying and selling, has increased significantly. This is how they're using. They don't have pagers anymore. Drug dealers don't have pagers anymore. Like that was the thing. Or like if you had two phones, whatever it was. Funny story. I used to have two phones until about 2 years ago, but I was not a drug dealer. But these things are happening on Snapchat all of the time. And it's just making it easy because the messages get erased. According to the New Mexico lawsuit, Snap complained that requirements to identify grooming would be too invasive of user privacy and would create disproportionate admin costs. So we're just going to continue to let online predators groom our children? That's awesome because it's going to cost how much, I don't even know, how much does Snapchat make in profit every year, but it's too much of an admin cost. Whew. Okay then. The legal documents claim that a draft Snap marketing document titled Sexting and Sextortion recognized that adults were targeting children for deeply pernicious and dangerous conduct on the platform, but did not want to strike fear among its young users. People, again, it's a business. They are going to do what's in the best interest of their business. You and me as parents need to do what's in the best interest of our children, and we need to protect them. We need to find the balance between protection and freedom. That's what we're going for. We want to protect them from the online predators, but we also want them to freedom so that they're not bullied or whatever because they don't have social media. But there's lots of other videos that I've done where it's like, you're the parent. If you don't want them to have social media, don't have them have social media, and just set that expectation. Hyatt and Rush called for Snap to remove the streaks and quick ad features to help curb addiction and predators. They also say that beauty filters should be removed for children along with engagement-based algorithms. Yeah, because like the filters we're now like seeing that we're not being able, like our view of beauty is being skewed, and it's like, oh, if we're not using a filter, then we can't meet these ideas that are forming from the filters that are being used. And then the engagement-based algorithm, like the likes, every single time we get a like, we get a dopamine hit, a dopamine hit, a dopamine hit. And so we're putting out material that we know is going to get us more and more likes. And that's what they're talking about. Analysis of OCOM data by the NSPCC showed that 68% of teenagers polled over 4 weeks in January said they had experienced some form of harm online. 68% of teenagers polled over 4 weeks in January, in a month, had experienced some form of harm. Now, we don't know what that harm is, so I want to be careful there. Randy Govinder, policy manager for child safety online at the NSPCC, said, "It's devastating to learn that Snap receives over 10,000 reports of sextortion every month. Each report represents a child living in fear that their images will be shared online, causing unimaginable distress and harm." Yeah, do we want that for our kids? No. Unfortunately, this echoes our own analysis of police data, which found that where the platform was known, half of all child sexual abuse images offenses took place on Snapchat. Let me read that again just for emphasis. You ready? Half of all child sexual abuse images offenses took place on Snapchat. That means that all of them are on Snap, like not half of them are on Snapchat. This is not a good app to have your children and younger teens on, or questionable whether or not you have any of your teens on it. She added that Ofcom should close a loophole in the Online Safety Act that requires private messaging services to remove illegal content only where it is technically feasible. That's just saying like they remove illegal content. They're saying that they shouldn't remove illegal content and that we should be able to see it. Snap was approached for comment, but they did not provide it. So again, let me reiterate this, and I've already said it a few times in this video. Snapchat is a business. They are looking out for what's best for their pocketbook. They're not looking out for the well-being of our children. It's not their responsibility. You know whose responsibility it is? It is our responsibility. Research is like punching us in the face, telling us how damaging Snapchat and other social media apps are. And yet we're just like, okay, here you go. You can have it. Don't do it. Use the research that Dr. Hyatt talks about in the anxious generation. No smartphones before high school, no social media until 16 years of age. If you stick to these guidelines, your teen is less likely to have mental health images, and they're less likely to be open to online predators and sextortion and grooming and all of those things. Because here's the thing, parents, we have so much on our plates. Do we really want to add one more thing that we know based off of research has detrimental effects? I mean, you can do that, and that's on you. But don't come and be like, oh my God, Snapchat, da, da, da. Because at the end of the day, they are a business. Our business as parents is to protect our children. And by doing that, by following the guidelines that Dr. Haidt talks about in The Anxious Generation, and by figuring out what our values are, we are going to be doing our teens good things, and we're going to be protecting them and giving them the freedom that they want. And by doing this, we're going to be throat punching this mental health crisis. Let's go.